We're at the bottom of Lamed Gimel Amud Beis in Beitsa, Mesechus Beitsa, the fourth parak, page 66 in the Arabic numbering system. And we're at the very, very bottom, where we've almost discussed all the inyanim of the Mishnah. Now we have one more thing to discuss that was mentioned in our Mishnah. Ein melabanim es hara'afim. We're not allowed to put in the fire these ra'afim, or like the tiles that even in modern Israel, many people have a roof of these red ceramic tiles that make up the roof. The slanted roofs tend to be that way. And the flat roofs are not, but the slanted roofs tend to be this kind of ra'afim, what they call. They even call them ra'afim in modern Hebrew. And basically it's a ceramic tile, so you could have put it in the fire and let it become hot enough to cook on. Basically like we have today, a hot plate. Except in those days they didn't have electricity, so to create your own hot plate you had to actually put it in the fire, get it glowing hot, and then put something on it as another cooking device, basically. So the Mishnah says you're not allowed to. Melabani. Melabani means what? Literally, to whiten. Like, for example, one of the ways that you kosher kalim is called libun. You take a pot and put it in the fire till it becomes more than just glowing red hot. It becomes whitish. It's so hot, right? So that point of heat is called libun. It's also whitening a garment is called libun. Like cleaning a garment is one of the ways of talking about cleaning a garment is to talk about libun. It's one of the malachas actually, libun, cleaning a garment, whitening a garment. Okay, so here we're talking about you have this tile, the ceramic tile, and you put it in the fire. If it gets glowing hot, white hot, it means that now it will retain its heat very, very well. It'll be just like a very hot plate that you can now cook on it. So it would be very handy to have, right? You didn't have to stand outside in the fire cooking. You could just take the tile, put it on the stone surface, and then just cook your pots on that. Away from the cold, away from the wind, away from whatever. So it would be nice to do. The problem is, it says in the Mishnah, you can't do it. Why not?
How come we have today the hot plates?
That's right. Today we're lucky we have a hot plate. But even today, there are some restrictions on the hot plate, right? There's certain types of control systems you're not supposed to have accessible, and you can't have it. Sometimes there are people who hold you shouldn't reach a height of like really cooking, just keeping it warm. There are different restrictions even today.
This one over here doesn't have any controls.
That's right. This would be mutter on Shabbos, and this would also probably doesn't even get that hot that it would cook. More just to keep it okay, but again, we're not learning those halachas now, so just realize that there are a few halachas attached to a hot plate, but obviously it's much easier to use a hot plate than to use really a proper flame. So here he would like to use this as a hot plate, so to speak, and the Mishnah says what? No, you can't. Why? You're not to cook on Yom Tov. What's wrong? We would like to read the Gemora. Last two lines of Gemora.
The Rashis?
Okay.
There's no Rashis.
Mark, I read. So what is the word involved here?
No. In Aramaic, the word avi doesn't mean work.
What are you doing?
What is it doing? Right.
What is it doing?
What's it doing? What's the problem? Right? As they would say in modern Hebrew, ma baya. What is it doing? What's the big deal? I take a ceramic square tile and I put it in the fire and let it become glowing hot. What did I do wrong? What did I do? Right? Did I do a malacha? Heating up a tile is a malacha? Gemora doesn't understand. Why should it be usher?
So Amar Rabba Bar Rav Chana.
Bar Chana. He's Rabba, the son of Chana.
Right. Amar Rav Yochanan.
Rebbe Yochanan. Rebbe Yochanan. Sometimes an Amora even has the name Rebbe, but usually it's reserved for the Tanoim.
Isn't there like an apostrophe that should be?
Yeah, but here it's part of the same word. Aleph Reish could be interpreted either way. Aleph Reish is just a Rosh Telos. Amar Rav if it's Rav, or Amar Rebbe if it's Rebbe. There's no indication. If it was just Reish by itself, you could see what it is. Reish by itself with a apostrophe would be Rebbe. But here it's Aleph Reish, meaning Amar, and then whatever that Reish stands for. Rebbe Yochanan.
Hacha Ra'afim Kadeshim Asokim.
Askina.
We're busy with a new type.
We're dealing with, in other words, we're dealing with the case of
a new type.
So I would say, funnily enough, we were just talking about a barrel that was mustaki, which is like 1959 Etzel kind of thing, old rickety whatever. Here's the opposite. Here's a brand new tile. And so that's what he's saying. The reason why it's usher is because you're dealing with a tile that's brand new. So what if it's brand new? Really, what do you think?
No emotions.
What's the problem if it's brand new? Do you have any idea without seeing the Gemora Beitsa?
Brand new pot?
No. The Ra'afim. You know what Ra'afim are?
Tiles.
And are you allowed to put it in the fire to become hot enough to use as a hot plate?
No, it's a cube.
No. Gemora said no. The Mishnah said no. Gemora's asking why not? What's wrong? What's wrong with doing that? Because you know what we're dealing with over here? We're dealing with a special kind of a tile. Not the regular tile, but a tile that is new. It's new, but still, what is that? Who cares? Why is that so important? So he says the reason why it's usher if it's a new tile is mipnei Vatikan.
To
examine them.
It's necessary to examine them.
Okay, which we'll see in Rashi in a minute what those are. Let's just see the next little tiny bit. The Amri La, what does Amri La mean?
They say about them, about it.
Basically, in other words, what would you say? It's really, Amri La means what?
They said to him.
No, La.
It.
So, who's talking to who? Who's talking to an it? It's like saying he's talking to the wall.
Talking to her.
Who's her?
The wife of...
No, there was no wife mentioned before.
A roofer.
What?
It's a roofer. We're talking about tile,
I thought we would remember, but I guess we haven't run into this enough for it to have stuck to our hard disk. Amri La means, and there are those that say it, meaning this whole sugya, a little bit differently.
It's a sugya.
In this particular case, the answer to the question. What was the question? Who cares if I'm heating up to a very high temperature these tiles? We say because it's new, and that causes a problem of, the first version says what? Levadikan. That you need to somehow check them. Okay, so we have to see in Rashi what that is, but there's some kind of problem. And the Amrila, but we're now announcing Amrila that what? Some people say a different version of what the problem with the new tiles, if you try to heat up the new tiles.
There was another expression for some say.
Ikada Amri. I can't 100% tell you what the difference is an Ikada Amri and an Amrila. Maybe Ikada Amri is a whole new version of like numerous factors in the conversation. Here it's one particular thing we're switching. The reason why heating up these ceramic tiles to a high temperature is a problem. it's a problem because it's new, and that presents a problem with Tzarik Levad Kam, or it's a problem that it's new. Amrila, some people say, like a one-line answer, that the problem is rather that if it's new, you end up having a problem that what? Not Tzarik Levad Kam, but Tzarik Lechasama. I think so. You know how I know? Look in the Rashi. Second line of Rashi. But Amrila Tzarik. Rashi, it's clearly a ches.
Well, here it's got a space there.
What? In Rashi?
No. In the Gemora.
No, I agree with you. It's not so clear in the print in the Gemora, but that's why one of the reasons it's always good to constantly look at Rashi, because Rashi also helps you know what the actual word is. Look at the Rashi, second line of Rashi, towards the end of that line. The Amrila. Tzarich lechasma. Okay, so theoretically it's from the word chosem. You know what a chosem is? You know when you get to a machsom, you're driving along and get to a machsom, roadblock. Machsom is a roadblock. You know what the isser in the Torah of putting a muzzle on your animal is? How the Torah says it?
It's like a feeding.
Lo sakson shor bedisho. You shall not muzzle your ox bedisho. What does bedisho mean? When it's doing disho, thrashing. When it's doing this thrashing. Because how do you do thrashing normally? You have an ox that's pulling like a little platform, a heavy platform, and the man standing on the platform. And that platform is going over all the crops, all the wheat. As he's standing on this, it's going over, it creates that weight that's crushing every single husk. But he can't do it by himself, so he has an ox pulling him. Right? You have that book called The 39 Malachas with all the beautiful pictures? You're going to want to get one for your daughter. Right? Even girls have to know the 39 Malachas. You want me to lend you mine?
No, get it from
You gotta get it. You know, more importantly than for your daughter, for you. You should know the 39 Malachas. And they have beautiful pictures there, showing you what they did in the desert, and then showing you practical applications today that are, some of them do Rabbanan, some of them do Beitsa, some of them are Mutter. It's very good. He has 3 different simanim. One siman he shows you a little tiny Sefer Torah showing it's Asur Midaraisa. One he shows you like a pen showing you it's Asur from the Divrei Sofer, meaning from the Chachamim. What? There's lots of pictures of like out in the garden and doing this and that, and this is Mutter, that's Asur, this is Asur Midaraisa, this is Asur Midarabanan. He has little tiny symbols next to each one. It's very well done. And then he also shows you what they used to do in the classic case in the Midbar, the real Malacha that was in the Mishkan, which is nice. And he has all sorts of other things there, but that's a very nice book, and he shows you in a fun way, right? You can even discuss it with your wife at a Shabbos meal, what do you see in this picture, what do you see in this picture. There's all sorts of little things. Every time you look, you see new little things that he pointed out in his picture. It's written by, I think, Baruch Chait. It's a famous book. I forget what it's called, but it's like almost looks like a little children's book in color. And it's just so well done, so well researched. Also in the back, they have footnotes. The footnotes are amazing scholarship. Very good footnotes in the back. If you don't look anything up, see, you say you drew a picture, this and that, and a symbol, but it's also good to sometimes know the actual parish and the Meforshim. So he brings down where to look it up. Jew has to know it during the Malachos. You know, the Mishmur says in the name of Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, if a person doesn't study Hilchos Shabbos, it's guaranteed he's going to do Chal every Shabbos. It's impossible. It's impossible to keep Hilchos Shabbos unless you really learn it. How are you going to know it? It's complicated. Very complicated mitzvah Shabbos. So many details. Do it this way, it's Asur Midarabanan. This way, it's Asur Midaraisa. This way, it's Mutter. Sometimes just a tiny little thing can make it Mutter, Asur, or whatever. And it's hard to learn through every book and everything. That's be the best thing. The best thing is to look about the Shmer Shabbos and learn a halacha every Shabbos, a few halachas from Shmer Shabbos, even in English. It's good to get. This makes it fun. This makes it a lot more fun. And it also brings up a lot of practical little things that you can allow. You never worry about that. That comes up all the time. It's very handy to have. You want to learn it to you. Wherever you get your sport, when you can afford it. I'm sure it's not cheap. Very, very complicated safer, so I'm sure they charge you less than that. Probably at least 150, I don't know. Maybe you can get a deal and talk to some bird or something. It used to be you get all the sport until you kill boards, but I don't think he does that anymore. It's not well. But I'm sure Jonas and Berg can get it.
The guy that comes around with the books.
Huh?
Is it the guy that comes around with the books?
Used to. Used to. He's not well anymore.
Oh,
He very often used to come to the morning shirim of our Yeshiva. He lives in Telstar. Like Davin's like 2 or 3 rows in front of where I daven in Telstar. And he's had Parkinson's. So slowly degenerated. There's a guy who helps him now and so on and so forth. Baruch Hashem, he's had a lot of improvement. He's been doing a lot of therapy and stuff. All right, let's try to finish this. So, we have 2 different versions. Maybe that's why it says Amri Love, because it's not a huge difference. Maybe Ika to Amri, if you go through an entirely new dialogue of that, a version of the dialogue, a version of the give and take. Here's just one little thing. Tzarich lebatkan or tzarich lechasman. And I was pointing out the word chosem means to stop up like a roadblock, or also stop up like a muzzle. So something about this tile is you're going to need to stop it up, whatever that means. Now let's see Rashi. Now there's 2 Rashis on these two things. Tzarich lebodkam, Rashi says means libuna. Libuna or libuna, it says on the side, right? That's what you have to check. If it can, what? Be makabel the libun. What does it mean to be makabel the libun? Libun means heating it up to a very high temperature where it turns white. Mm-hmm. That's extremely high temperature. If it can be makabel, it means it can withstand those temperatures. Right? Like sometimes you get some kind of a kli and it just says, it can withstand a certain temperature. But above that, it can't withstand the temperature. So you don't know with it being new. If it's old, you know about it, right? You've dealt with it. If it's new, you're not sure whether it can be makabel, meaning if it can withstand those temperatures. Who cares? So if it doesn't, it'll break. What's the big deal, right? Is that a problem if it breaks? No. But what's the problem? Rashi explains what's the problem. Breaking is not per se a problem. Why are we worried? Therefore, we tell you not to do it. Why? Haki. It'll break. It'll sort of explode, shatter. Yeah. And so again, and what's wrong with that? What's the big problem? Look what Rashi said. Interesting shot. The ishtakach. You know what ishtakach means? It'll be found. Consequently, in other words, it'll turn out. Tarek Shalol Tzarek. We haven't seen that in a long time, but remember, that's a very big concern on Yom Tov. You want it to be a happy day, not sitting there doing stuff that's work that was Livatala, right? So that's one of the big concerns of Chazal. We don't want you to end up doing some kind of, even if it's not a malacha, just tircha, right? Just you did hard work. You do hard work for a good reason. I set the table. It was hard for me to set the table. I don't care. You need to eat. You need to set the table. It's not a problem. But if you're going to end up setting the table and then it turns out nobody shows up, that might be usher. Right? You say, I hope people come. I don't know. I'm going to set up 30 places. Maybe that's usher. It'll end up being a tircha shalol tzorich, and Chazal aren't happy with that. So they say maybe that's the problem with using these new ra'afim, because it might end up being, if it does break, it'll all be for nothing, right? For naught.
You mean you cannot use it? You set it up, but you can't use it.
You can't even put it in the fire to become your hot plate, because in the middle of all that, it might end up being break, and then all that work was for nothing. That's one pshat. Another pshat is because of Sarich L'chasma. Next Rashi. Hakshotan. To make them hard. Right? That's one of the things you try to do. The first time, like when you take a piece of ceramic and you put it in the kiln, right? You fire it up in the kiln, making it harder. Right? We saw that once before, right? With the nair. Right? With the nair.
The Hesek Rishon.
The Hesek Rishon means in the first heating. When you use this for the first time, that's going to harden it up. Right? In other words, like we would say in English, break it in. That's going to break it in. Make it a nice, tough piece of pottery. Heim mitchazkim. They get stronger. They get harder. They get stronger. Umitkashim. They get harder. Right? We talked about that earlier in the Masechta. Right? You can't make things harder. You're not supposed to. Right?
Yeah.
Hilkach. Therefore. Namihu, I'm trying to do it for Yom Tov. So what if it's going to make it hard, but I'm doing it for Yom Tov? It's like a hechsher of Hol Nefesh. And he says, how do I know it's for Yom Tov? Daha, Solin Olam. What are we going to do with these? We're just heating them up for our own pleasure? No, I'm going to heat it up. And on top of that, I'm going to roast something. Right? I'm going to put the chicken right on it. And we're going to get some nice roasted chicken. So it is for Yom Tov, so what's the problem? It becomes a kli, therefore, asur. Right? So it ends up being the problem we've been discussing all along with many other cases. You basically are perfecting the kli. You're perfecting it. Till now it was a softer kind of a kli. Now you're perfecting it by making it harder and more durable. Therefore, according to that pshat, that would be why it's asur. Okay, very good. Shkoyach.